everyone, it's Cindy. Welcome back to Studioloo. So I'm here today. It's been a little while since I've done a journal flip through. I have just been super busy, but I am so happy that I finally finished this book. I had worked on it a little bit, I think with my Patreons on my live stream, but this is the In My Craft Room journal. So this journal is inspired by the concept of like using things up in your studio, using all the magical things that you create, that you collect to create. And also I found a really lovely kit from Minte that was literally called In My Craft Room. And so it just kind of boded well for the whole vibe of the book. I think this book is possibly spoken for, but we will see. I want to share it with you either way. So this cover is a lovely kind of, a patchwork really, right? So this is the lovely Petit Fleur cotton ties that are stitched on here and here. I'll show you how the dynamic works as we open the book. But if you have been around for a while and you follow my thrift haul videos, you'll remember from some time ago I got these lovely needlepoint purses that they had all been fully stitched, but then they were never cut out and made into purses. So my idea the whole time when I got them was like, I want to turn them into journal covers, but they were irregularly shaped. So what I did was I came in with just different beautiful fabrics, all from this lovely sample book that I got. And I just patchworked it and created this really fun cover. So the blue purse is this one. And then there's a pink one as well, and that extends on the spine. So this book is has a lot of extra cover to it because it's like a kind of a wraparound cover, right? So here's the other purse, and I left this bit intact so you could see that it was, on this lovely netting here. This is how needlepoint is done, on this kind of a netting. And I wanted to kind of preserve that a little bit. So then over here on this flap that kind of comes around and you're able to tie, I stitched on this clear plastic pocket. So I figured, the bits and bobs that you collect for the journal could go in there. And then when you have time that day to do your journaling, you can take the things that you saved and, work away. So you'll see here 5 signatures that are visibly, stitched through. I really love how this looks on fabric covers. I think it's very charming. And then we open up the journal, oopsie, and we have all sorts of things going on. So over here, we'll start over here. Okay, so the patchwork and fabric is happening on both sides of this cover. I use this really lovely, quite tattered old stitched linen. It's quite thin, but it's strong enough to do what it needs to do here. And I just think it's so pretty. And then I found this really fun vintage pocket, and I stitched it here. And inside you have one of my paper dolls that I made during Tuesday 10, the last day of, or sorry, not Tuesday 10, Junk Journal Round Robin on the very last day. So that one's in there. And then 3 little fun tags that are made with jelly printing with gold leaf, and it was just a fun little thing. And they all have kind of these sky blue kind of backgrounds with some mountains back there. And I just thought they would be fun little add-ins here. Then you also have this side tuck spot here that has this piece that was also made during Junk Journal Round Robin. And I thought it was a nice way to kind of celebrate my craft room, because this is from Shell, and it's a pour over painty kind of canvas. And then this leaf is from Mary Ellen, and it's stitched on with this fun stitch. This is some fun packaging paper, and then this lovely bird. So that makes for a fun journal card that's kind of a bunch of things going on from the craft room. So then this is the sort of theme of the kit. This is from the Minte In My Craft Room kit. And it's really fun because it's got pets in the craft room. There's cats and dogs, lots of different, books and different kinds of crafting, paper crafting, ribbons and dyeing, yarn, and all sorts of like a lot of different things going on. And then over here, we have this pocket with a little sewing machine. And this lovely paper, that's the back side of it. And then I used an entire vintage tea towel in this book to make like fun ephemera with. I felt like it had a good feel to it because I do collect so much vintage stuff and honestly so much textile that I was like, this is good for this book. And I love these calendars. So lots of those throughout the book. some of my dyed paper, and these are some of the little cutouts from the paper kit. So you're going to see those throughout. It'll be things like yarn, needles, scissors, and roses. Roses are another recurring theme in the paper collection. So this is some vintage ledger from 1928, authentic. And then this is the more of that little towel in reverse this time, because I just liked how it looked on the back too. So I wanted to use that. It's got like green weaving on the back. And then I made a little button card with really fun vintage pink buttons on a piece of paper from a book where it says Granny Has a Dream. And I like that because I feel like grandmothers and mothers a lot of the time are who hand down to us our creativity. Then I left this page of the ledger alone. I always like to kind of preserve those just as they are. I think they're so nice in a journal. And then this lovely scrapbook paper with lines, and it's pink. And then there's a little bit of scissors, some sewing paper with some numbers and green lines. This is coffee dyed paper, which actually came from Mary Ellen at Red Parrot. And then a little clustery pocket here from the kit. We got a kitty cat. And then this is a journal card that I made from the paper kit. Just a nice desk with a beautiful, very feminine feeling window and some crochet patches back there, granny squares. A little stack of books and some of my hand dyed log paper, and a little pink envelope in the middle. I wanted to carry on with the vintage, or sorry, the pastel feel of the kit, so I used a lot of pastel. And then another journal card from the kit itself, a little glue gun and a chihuahua, my little soul animal there. Perfect paper for my craft room for sure. Another little cutout and more of the patches, and another pocket here with like a little paint kit. And then I made a tag from the vintage ledger with this little jar of pencils, more hand, coffee dyed paper and sewing paper, a little glue bottle cutout there, and more of that fun lined paper, this time in this pastel blue. And then a little tuck spot here on the vintage ledger from 1925. And then I made this journal card. I forget where this image came from, but I just made a big journal card because I loved this cat and felt like it really went with this book. And then I pinked up the cheeks. I felt like that was appropriate for this cat with the false eyelashes there. And more ledger and dyed paper, hand dyed paper, a little thimble, and then this is some ribbon on this pocket, this lovely paper. And then this journal card that's made with locally handmade paper from the papertrail.ca. And then I have stitched on this sewing machine card from the paper collection. Little fabric up there. And then a little puppy sitting in a chair and a cat down here, and, you know, more lovely, ideal craft rooms. A ball of yarn up here on this hand-dyed lace paper. A big tag on this bookshelf paper with a little pin cushion on the pocket. And then a kitty cat sitting here with ribbon. Just a very fun, the back is very nice to write on too. It's like nice to have that kind of background. Little scissors there, and another clustery pocket with a glue gun and scissors, and a notebook on vintage ledger from 1927. And then this is the color pack for painters from the National Lead Company, and that's been stitched around. A little rose cutout on coffee dyed paper, some of my dyed log paper, and then this is one of my very favorite bird pages from Allbird. This is like my favorite bird book that I ever find, and this is my favorite bird inside of it. And I just love how the pink and the aqua kind of go together. And then this spread is from the Minte paper collection, and it's a little kitty, and there's the chihuahua and another kitty, and everything is just very lovely. I want this craft room. It looks like it's just full of cute animals. And then we have a little bench with a blanket throw over it, and a knitted pocket there, and then another of the little tea towel journal cards. And then this little bird. More of my paper here, and a glue gun on coffee dyed paper, ledger from 1926. And the bookshelf, the other side of that page, with this fun little pocket and a kitty cat. Nice tag from the kit. More of my hand-dyed paper, and then this little jar of pencils pocket on this background that's very calming with a candle. I thought it sort of went with, like, you know, the calmness that we all feel when we step out of our chaos and into our calm craft space, right? And then this is a fun tag that I made where I stitched on these crochet motifs. Two of them I crocheted myself, the other two I did not. They were from an Etsy seller. Had them from a long time ago. I used to spin them in my yarns, those kind of things. Some scissors and a rose, hand-dyed paper. This is a little vintage illustration of Little Boy Blue, more scissors there. And this is the marriage of Cock Robin and Jenny Wren. I felt like these old fairy tale books are very reminiscent of my craft room, and I wanted to include a few pages in this journal. More sewing paper and dyed log paper. Then this little sewing machine pocket on some Franken paper, which is also, you know, a fun part of the craft room. And then a tab here. And then this lovely old playing card. I just love how, you know, the red from the red cards, or maybe the back of the cards, has kind of rubbed onto the woven plastic of that black ace. And then this fun little pocket here. It has this little journal card of this little puppy with a ball in the base of the craft room on the floor. And that just pops into this pocket with that card. And then over here we have another little craft room scene that is a little tuck spot there. And then this is some fun fabric I found with all of these sewing pins on it. And then I added on top here this image. This is from Very Pear on Etsy. Just some nice splattery paintbrushes. And this is another of the tea towel bits. Made a pocket, and see the fun cherries at the bottom. It was a really pretty towel. And back here we have some Trisha Romance. I love her painting of houses and porches and the outdoors, so I wanted to include some of her in here. And then this is another large page from the Minte paper kit of the craft room, and I just rounded the corners and then pasted down some nice brown paper for some good writing space there. So that goes right in there. And then there's some of the lovely Trisha Romance, girl raking leaves outside of this lovely house. And some more hand-dyed paper with some roses. This is another page from the paper collection and a little knit pocket with scissors. And then I made this from a 1907 deed of land that I got from an estate sale, and added a couple of crafty bits on it because it brings together kind of that nice, you know, vintage paper and craft supplies, craft room feel. And another spread for the middle here of all the pets in this fun fabric-y kind of craft room. And then this is a vintage pocket with rickrack that I found in my studio. I've had it for a while. It was from probably an auction in St. Jacobs, I think, probably. And I've got lots of bits in here. So number one is an Edith Holden Song Thrush and Young. That is a journal card. This is just a little fun pink tag made from my hand-dyed paper. This is just a little vintage, beautiful rose image from a vintage rose book that I turned into a tag. And then a little poem. The honeysuckle round the porch has woven its wavy bowers, and by the meadow trenches blow the faint, sweet cuckoo flowers, and the wild marsh marigold shines like fire in swamps and hollows gray, and I'm to be queen of the May, mother, I'm to be queen of the May. So all of those will pop right up here. I wanted to kind of make this a fun little, you know, top pocket that had like little secrets and things in it, little knickknacks and whatnot. Some more hand-dyed paper, and then a pocket from that lovely tea towel, again on the Trisha Romance house. And then this image is very beautiful. It's from a very old illuminated book that, you know, this is in public domain. It's really quite beautiful. And then I've added these knitting needles there, and it's backed with my watercolor metallic paper. And another Trisha Romance and a Franken paper here with some scissors. Then on this side, a little studio scene from the paper collection on this side of the Franken paper. And then I made this fun mixed media kind of piece just during my live stream last week, I guess. And it was just a lot of fun to make. So I kind of did some collaging. I was using up papers and bits of fabric. I did a little stitching here and brought together a cabinet card image and an antique invoice, all things that I've scanned from my collection to make a really unique piece. That's just a fun journal card. Then some more of my hand-dyed paper, a little ball of yarn there, sewing paper, and more of the Cock Robin and Jenny Wren wedding. And the death of Cock Robin, so very sad, but beautiful illustration, vintage book illustration, and more hand-dyed paper, a little glue bottle there. This pocket with this ceramic pot that's got little knit stitches of knitting needles. Again, just a calm candle kind of studio. And then another large journal card made from that tea towel. Then in here, this is more of the paper collection from Minte, and then this little glued down bit on the paper. Just a fun floral. And then this is a old Busilla thread winder kind of, you keep all your color numbers and a color guide basically for all your threads. So I kept the threads there and I stitched it all down and turned it into a fun journal card. Knit stitches and some hand-dyed paper. This is a cedar waxwing, and then some white barn board, a little crochet hook, more hand-dyed log paper, sewing paper, a little pocket here from the Minte paper collection on Franken paper, and a journal card of the same theme with a kitty cat. Another pocket from the tea towel on the Franken paper, and then this is a Kate Greenaway image on this sort of botanical paper. It was from an illustrated children's book about the forest. And then this is some coffee dyed paper, more of the Cock Robin and Jenny Wren. More of that, and then a pocket there with a paint kit. And then this was just a fun piece that I made, I think during Tuesday 10 with a jelly print, and I used an image from an illustration book and added one of my labels there, and then did some blackout poetry. Red coat, open places, wild-eyed, many little paths crisscross, follow one, green grass to lie down. I thought that was kind of an artsy mixed media piece for the, the whole craft room experience. This is the wedding breakfast of Jenny Wren and Cock Robin. More of the coffee dyed paper. This is a little packaging paper tip out that I added on to my Franken paper in order to attach this lovely vintage pocket. And inside we have this tag. I made some of these tags while I was doing a short story scraps with playing cards. This was inspired by Tina at Shabby Dabby Doodah. She made some lovely collage boards with playing cards, and I have these particularly lovely playing cards, and I just thought they would be really great. And I love the red and blue together. And then over here, a little side tuck pocket there with all the bits from the craft room. And then another of those journal cards made from the tea towel. More sewing and hand-dyed log paper, another crochet hook and the white barn board. This lovely bird here. More hand-dyed lace paper and knit stitches. A pocket with a button jar, and then this little kitty cat sleeping here beside the stool from the paper. This is all from the paper collection pretty much, except for this, the buttons there on that pocket. And then this is just a lovely little pocket that has another fun journal card from the paper from Minte. Another little tuck spot with another tea towel journal card on that beautiful paper. Some of my hand-dyed paper, and then another pocket with a notebook on this sort of stack of knitted garments, and then a really lovely little gallery wall in a studio. This tag. Some roses, and I wanted to include some of the beautiful, that old deed that I had made that journal card out of earlier, so I included it as a page in here. And then some more coffee dyed paper, and then the marriage of Cock Robin and Jenny Wren. Sewing paper, a little pocket with watercolors there on this fun Franken paper that has this sort of cross-stitch roses, and a little kitty cat in a studio here full of ribbons and fabrics. And over here we have this little kitty cat in this studio. And then this is a tag that I made. It has a pocket on the front that has this image inside, and this little envelope that has this little bit inside. And it's all collage and fun. I think I did this during a Tuesday 10, but I felt like it just, the colors and the feel and the overall fact that it's the kind of work I do in my studio, I think it belongs in here. Coffee dyed paper and a little jar of knitting needles on Trisha Romance paper with a couple of lovely tags made from the paper collection from Minte. And then a Trisha Romance door with a cat. I just love her painting of homes. A little swing there, and more coffee dyed paper. Oopsies, there we go. And then some Franken paper with a little yarn ball. Another tuck spot from the kit, and then another one of those lovely collage tags. This one just has one pocket, but it does have a label there and some fun fabric. And then this little image, a cabinet card image. And that just pops in here. Button on sewing paper, and then these are two belly bands, both from the kit. So kitty cat and a sewing kit and all sorts of stuff, a paint kit, books, and then a journal card here from the same kit, and that goes into this belly band and kind of tucks right down here, you know, through the second one. And then this is another one of those tags that I made with the fun cards on them, and that goes in here. Then we have this little tuck spot, and here, this is from an old, like a 70s children's book, and I just love the image of this little girl, like in a library, and then this label from another old book that said contents, and then the inside is blank, so it's like a card. More coffee dyed paper, and the other side of that beautiful old ledger with its seals, or deed, not ledger, sorry, it's a deed. Lovely old deed. And a pink button. Then we have the other side of the knitted garments there, and a little notebook, and two more tags from the Minte in my craft room collection. More of my hand-dyed paper, and a little granny square pocket on the Minte paper with another one of those old ledger tags, and a little paint kit, craft kit up there. And then the last page here, we have more of the Minte paper pocket with books, and then this little tag of paintbrushes, and that goes in here. Then we get to the back side. So here's the other side of that lovely vintage linen. See that really interesting crisscross stitch there? Inside here, I've placed a piece of the most lovely handmade paper that feels so craft room to me from the paper trail, so that goes in there. And then over here, as I mentioned, the plastic pocket that's stitched in. You can put whatever you want in there to kind of, you know, do your journaling work, but I've included a few things. So another little Kate Greenaway tag, another of the dishcloth, vintage dishcloth journal cards, and then this little envelope that I made. And inside of the envelope, we have this fun little vintage book journal card of these bunnies, because all of this stuff is just so reminiscent of the things that I have in my studio, like vintage linens, vintage books, kids books, you know, magazines, and kind of aesthetic things to make lovely paper bits from. Yeah, so that is the In My Craft Room journal, and it's going to be offered to the person who's interested in it, and then if it goes home, it goes home, and I'll be so happy. And if it doesn't, then it will be up for offer to my Etsy shop. The best place to follow me on Etsy, where I sell my journals and my digitals and things, is to just literally follow my shop on Etsy, like favorite my shop, and then you will get the drop down notification whenever I have new things. If you're looking at your Etsy, you'll see that you have like a recommended kind of little heart there, and you'll be shown all the new stuff that all of your favorite Etsy shops have posted. So I will be there if you follow me. Otherwise, I also have a Patreon where all my Patreons get first dibs on all of my books. That's one of the many different things that I do over there. But anyhow, that's it for me for now. I hope you're all very well, and I'll talk to you soon. Bye for now.